Welcome to Digital Dominators, the podcast that helps small business owners grow their confidence, sharpen their digital skills, and actually enjoy showing up online. I'm Sooz, your host, tech coach, and digital cheerleader, and every week I chat with brilliant experts to bring you practical tips, smart strategies, and the tools and tech to make business easier. From social media marketing to websites, content to confidence, AI to automation, we're breaking it down into simple steps you can actually use. If you're ready to make things simpler and more successful in your digital world, you're in the right place. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to Digital Dominators, the podcast where we dismantle the myths, master the tools, and dive into the real skills you need to thrive in a digital-first world. Today, we're calling out something that's everywhere online, and it's doing a lot more harm than good. You've seen it, the six-figure screenshots, the morning routines, the hustle hard mantras, the polish feeds selling you success like it's a shiny product. But here's the truth, it's not always real, and it's definitely not always ethical. Joining me today is someone who's not afraid to say it like it is. Danielle Thompson from Gold Spun Support. Danielle is a straight-talking, values-led tech VA and business support expert who helps service-based business owners get their back end sorted without the shame, gaslighting, or nonsense that's so common in the online space. She's on a mission to make business feel human again by stripping away the smoke and mirrors, grounding people in their values, and building systems that feel supportive, not performative. In this episode, we're unpacking the toxic culture of success porn and how it's messing with your mindset, and why real sustainable success looks nothing like what's trending on TikTok. So let's get into it. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, thank you for that lovely introduction.
I know, it was a great one today.
Yeah.
Well, what I think is that really comes from you and what it is that you do, because I know that we're going to have a really good conversation around this title and topic today, because it's something I'm also very passionate about and also get very frustrated about as an ethical business owner. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of today, why don't you let the audience know a little bit more about you in your own words?
Okay.
Tell us about you, your business, how you got to where you are. Tell us all about Danielle.
It's a long story, but we only have an hour, so I'll try and keep it relatively succinct. So I've been running my business for almost 11 years now. Pretty much to the day, actually, 11 years. So it's been a long time.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. But when I first started, it was very much in response to a breakdown I had in corporate. The end of my corporate career was very, very rocky. There was very unpleasant behaviour that, due to some legal documents, I can't talk too much about. Let's just say it wasn't great and I had a massive breakdown. And when I first started my business, that was as a reaction to that level of stress and essentially PTSD. I never wanted another human being to feel as overwhelmed and stressed in their lives as I had felt in those moments. So I started very much from a sort of traditional administrative VA position. I just wanted to support people. I kind of wanted to stay small, recover my own emotional health, and help people. And I probably did that for about 8 years. You know, the business thrived in the sense of I made what I needed to pay my mortgage. And I was happy. I was content. You know, my kids were very small at the time, so I got to spend loads of time with them, and it was a good setup. And then about 3 years ago, I can't even explain the moment, but it felt like something inside me woke up. Like for the first time, I looked around and went, if you're going to do this, let's do it. You know, you're now earning enough money to pay your mortgage, pay your bills, everything, but you can do more. And for a long time, I think I denied bits of myself that had come from corporate. When I left corporate, I had 8 years corporate marketing experience through branding and marketing. I had project management experience, logistics experience. The last 8 years of running my business at that time, I'd had a wealth of administrative experience as well as strategic and marketing, because I couldn't help interfering when I had clients and I could see marketing opportunities, because you can't keep those parts of your brain quiet if that's where your joy lies.
Yeah.
So I woke up in this moment And for the last 3 years, I've really put everything into it. I've worked with mentors. I've done different courses. So in ethical social media management. So I'm a certified social media manager. I've done positivity training in terms of positive psychology. I've learned about myself. I've learned about my clients, and the business has grown exponentially. It's grown something silly like 40% year on year for the last 3 years. And it's because I'm now present in it. It's not just a wave I'm riding, it's something I've kind of got hold of and I'm really passionate about it. And the more I've done that, the more it's opened my eyes to the things that really, really matter to me. And I did an exercise a while ago with a mentor around finding your real core passion. And she referred to it as the one thing in life that really boils your piss, which I thought was a hysterical phrase. So basically, she just kept needling me till I lost my temper. And it turns out
Okay.
the thing I will lose my temper over is unethical marketing behaviors. Because I was a
Interesting.
new business owner and I wasn't exactly an intentional business owner. I'd had this breakdown. I needed to do something else and it kind of happened. A few things came together and things happened. I didn't sit there one day and go, do you know what? I'm going to start my own business. But even in my journey, there were the courses out there that cost thousands of pounds that you had to have or you'd never be able to get a client. There was SEO, and unless you spent £2,000 a month on doing your SEO, your website was never going to work. There was, the networking groups you had to belong to or no one would listen to you. There was always something I should be doing. But I was lucky that I had the background in marketing that I could look at it and go,
Mm.
no, I'm not sure I agree with that. And I probably did buy into things I didn't need. We've all got it. We've all got those courses we bought into, or those freebies we downloaded that you don't look at, or you don't open, or you don't do anything with. It's human nature. We'd love an easy solution. We'd love the tablet we take and suddenly we lose 10 stone. That would be marvelous. But those quick wins don't exist. And the more I operated from my place of ethics and from my values, and the more I saw a world in which other people didn't have that was what was, as my mentor said, boiling my piss. I just got really cross and really cross. And I'd see posts, I'd see things, and I'd be like, please don't buy it. Please don't click on that. But you can't do anything. You can't comment on a post and go, nobody buy this. That's unethical. So I decided the only thing I could do was operate from my place of values and my beliefs and try and talk as loudly and as openly, as honestly as possible. And in my own small way, try to change the world, which sounds very big and very grand when I say it like that. But it's what's important to me. Yes, I need
And
to earn
it's
money, but
yeah,
this is important to me.
and it's we only can control what we can have control over, which is our own lives. And I think adhering to our own values is super important, and that's what then translates to our customers and our clients. So it's not riding the bandwagon of what everyone else is doing, because they're showcasing some success, but that might not be what's happening in the background, or they're using techniques to build that scarcity, that
Yeah,
FOMO,
that
that type of
fear-based
marketing.
marketing is
Yeah,
it's so horribly unethical. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't celebrate your wins. We should all celebrate our wins, however big and small they are. You made that phone call you were terrified of making, or you reached a 10K month because that's what you want. But the thing is, I think the online world and this success porn we're kind of drowning in gives us a set of values, a set of beliefs, a set of goals that aren't really ours.
yeah,
Like, you look at Instagram and you see photos of people with their laptops on abroad. So we should all want to be digital nomads. I don't want to be a digital nomad because I'd get weird tan marks if there was a laptop on my lap at all times and I couldn't see the screen. And I'll be honest, some of those hot countries get very rainy in the winter and that's not that nice either. Do you know what I mean? That's not
yeah,
my dream, but it has taken me a lot of self-reflection and quite a lot of resilience and strength to recognize that I can just scroll past those posts and kind of laugh a bit. So I get
hmm,
that people who are in a more vulnerable stage of their business, maybe they're coming from a place where they're not earning enough yet and they're almost operating from a place of desperation because they
hmm,
just want to make the money. I get how all of those messages they're seeing are battering away at their confidence even more because it's going, well, you should be here. Why aren't you here? I made 6 figures in 6 days. Why aren't you making 6 figures?
yeah.
And no one ever goes, do you actually want to make six figures?
Is that the right thing for you? Is that, yes, it sounds great, but is it actually real? What actually makes up those numbers? How
Yeah.
many hours are you actually having to work? You're
Yeah,
not
if
sitting
you
by
sell
a
a
pool.
20p product, how many products are you going to have to sell to make a 10k month? If you're trading time for money, how much time are you going to have to invest if you want to hit 10k months? Do you even want to? I know I've got a really good friend who owns a beauty business, a physical salon. She caps her days so that she earns under the VAT threshold because she is not interested in the admin that goes with that. And she would rather work less time and get to a good point where she knows what she's doing. She can do her bookkeeping quite simply, and that's it. She never wanted to be involved in the level of complexity that came after hitting those sort of 9, 10k months. And you know what? I don't blame her.
No, me neither. I think that's why there's that percentage of like, what is it, 3 or 4% of, it might be 6, I can't remember, but it's under 10 anyway, percent of female-led business owners that aren't VAT registered, that aren't any more than 6 numbers or 5 numbers, I should say, because again, our responsibilities, our lifestyles are different, and it's more challenging to bring on that extra amount of work that's
Yeah.
required, administrative work that's required to be able to go past that, and we can live comfortably, hopefully still in the future,
Well,
within those means,
yeah.
without
That's probably
seeing
what a
what's
loaf of
happening.
bread will cost in a few months. But anyway, but
I know.
it's weird because I don't feel there's support either way. So there's nobody, or there aren't enough people going, whatever your goal is, that's fine. If your goal is to go over the VAT threshold, put it this way, it's terrifying. I did it middle of this year. No, it is the middle, but a few months ago anyway. And I was genuinely feeling sick the entire time. I didn't want to do it. I'd put it off for as long as humanly possible. I was like going through scenarios. How can I avoid this? And legally, I couldn't avoid it. It's where my business was going, especially as I introduce new revenue streams and new products. I was going to have no choice. But the thought of it terrified me. And you feel almost ungrateful or wrong turning around and going, but I don't know if I want this. And even if I know I need to do it, I need somebody to hold my hand or tell me it's going to be okay. And sometimes you find yourself in rooms where you're not with the right people and they're not going to comfort you. So, a big part of being rooted in your values and ethics is finding people and finding rooms full of people that very much reflect the way you feel, the way you operate. Because otherwise, you will find yourself, it's like wearing the wrong size clothes. Everything feels a bit uncomfortable, and they won't give you great advice because it'll be advice that they would do, but actually, that's not what you do. So there's a lot going on in the landscape. And, as female business owners, as any business owner, we're all going to feel these things. And you kind of got pressure coming at you from different angles. If you haven't got the right people on your side, if you're constantly looking online at everything, all this stuff's kind of battering you. And it is really hard to step back consciously and say, right, what do I want? Where do I want to go? What's my end point and how do I get there?
Yeah, there's so many points and part of that I'd love to talk about. I think the first thing is really, how do we as business owners, or anyone that's listening or watching to this, how do you kind of reset yourself and go, right, where do I find out what my values are? If I have been burned in the past,
Mm,
where do, maybe I'm part of communities that things aren't maybe feeling
mm.
quite right? Where's that little niggle in the stomach? How do I reset myself and go, where do I start? Is there any guidance you can give here to
Yeah,
people?
it's not easy to do. I mean, the easiest way to do it is to switch off all social media, all internet, all everything, and sit in a quiet, dark room, coming back to yourself. But
I
I'm
know
not
there's
an
people
idiot.
that do that, that go on like
There
silent
probably are.
retreats to get
Yeah.
away. So
We don't
yeah.
all have capacity for that. So I'm not even going to try and give you that ridiculous advice. There are a couple of things that I do. So the first is around that niggle you get, that feeling you get. So that's about really being in touch with yourself and your feelings, because often a feeling of discomfort might not come out as a feeling of discomfort. So it might come out as you snapping at your other half, or binge eating chocolate, or putting a to-do list at the bottom, an item at the bottom of your to-do list over and over again. When you start to recognize those little patterns in yourself, those reactions, that's when you start to recognize the things that are a niggle. And you might not know why it's uncomfortable. You might not know why it's a problem, but recognizing it's really the first step. I worked with a client years ago and I ended up avoiding his calls every time I phoned. I couldn't deal with him. I couldn't deal with him. I couldn't deal with him. And it was because the job he'd employed me for physically made me uncomfortable. It was direct cold sales and it just didn't fit with me. In theory, it was something I'm physically capable of. I can make phone calls. It's not hard. I just didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that led me to avoid him. But there was nothing wrong with him as a person. My avoiding him was the fact that I didn't have an update for him on his workload because I hadn't done his workload because I didn't enjoy it. So first step, 100%, is to start to recognize patterns in yourself, because those moments of discomfort, those niggles, those funny feelings, that is what will lead you to understand where discomfort is coming from and what you might need to change. On the flip side of it, jealousy is a really good thing to listen to. So a lot of the time when we compare ourselves to people online, we're feeling guilty or resentful or whatever else it is because we're not where they are. And that's fine as a standalone feeling. That kind of goes, that thing is triggering me to feel I should be somewhere else. But on the other side of that, if you are feeling physically jealous about something like, oh my God, why is that person speaking on stage? I could do so much better than that. Or why is that person running a course and selling it for £1,000 a pop? The likelihood is that jealous feeling is because that is something that you genuinely feel inside that you can do. You're not going to be jealous of someone speaking on stage if it's not something you're interested in. You're going to be like, oh, stage, no thank you, I don't want to do that. So it's kind of the other side of that coin. One is listening to your niggles, the other one is kind of observing your jealousy and using that to create goals for yourself. And then that's your awareness. The third thing is a really, really powerful exercise you can do. So you do kind of need to sit quietly, turn off everything, be alone with your thoughts. And it's sit down and imagine a day, 5 or 10 years in the future, depending on, doesn't really matter, but it's the perfect day. Whether it's a work day or a weekend day, whether it's a holiday, whether it's whatever it is. If you think about where you are, is it hot? Is it cold? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? Are you just getting out of bed? Are you sat at your desk? Think about all of your surroundings and then think about how you got there. So my perfect day, when I did the visualization the first time, I was in a warm country, I was on holiday, but I'd woken up and I'd checked some emails and sent a few things off. I'd made sure my team were okay and then sort of carried on with my day, which led me to realize that I don't want to be chained to my desk 7 days a week, 24/7. I want the ability to go on holiday and know that all that stuff is taken care of, but that I've still got a role to play in the business. By kind of visualizing your end point, you can see all of those things you kind of want to have in your life. I mean, and it could be awful. Like, you don't want to be with your partner long term because the person in that vision was definitely not your other half. It could be that actually you were working your arse off in a beautiful office that had glass windows all round, and that's about a level of ambition you've got. It could be that you were taking phone calls with people you've never spoken to, but they're the kind of people you want to be connected with. If
Yeah.
you can connect with that vision and that idea of the future, you've got a North Star that can guide you. And having that North Star, it makes every decision along the way so much easier because you can kind of go, well, is that leading me to where I want to be? And if you pair that with your niggles and your jealousies, well, I know I may need to get there, but I don't want to do this thing while I'm doing that. Let's discard that. It kind of gives you this like a yellow brick road, I suppose, for want of a better word, that you can just keep following, going, that is a shiny object. I don't need that right now. Or that makes me
Yeah.
feel uncomfortable. You go away. I don't like you. And it's hard, but once you've got it, I don't know, it makes everything aligned. It makes decisions easier. I find it makes everything so much more comfortable.
It makes you sit really well in your body and you have to listen to your own self in that way. And I think that would help with when we look at all of the content that goes out on the social platforms. And I'm probably talking more like what's on Instagram and Facebook and what people are promoting, maybe less so on LinkedIn, maybe on TikTok, but you can tell me what you're thinking about this as well. But I would see it mostly on Facebook and Instagram, because that's where the advertising comes from as well, mostly as well. But when we're looking at this and we're being targeted, which we've got to remember, we're targeted by a lot of this content, because that's what the business owners, they're trying to target other people to try and purchase these things. But it gives you, once you know what your values are and you know what you're aligned with and what's going to drive you to that next step that you want to go in, because you've worked that out, it allows you to then filter through these things and not take action on that success stuff that goes out there and feeling that sense of
You're potentially
formal.
still going to be drawn in by something that does meet your North Star, your goals.
As a creator, I used to spend hours re-recording voiceovers to get the perfect tone, but finding reliable voice talent, booking studio time and editing takes forever, and it can break the bank. That's why I recommend 11 Labs. It generates ultra-realistic AI voices and even clones your own, all in seconds. With natural-sounding speech, multilingual support, and seamless text-to-speech conversion, 11 Labs powers podcasts, audiobooks, training modules, and more. No mic required. Ready to level up your audio? Try it free today at allmylink.me/TC11labs and bring your scripts to life with 11 Labs.
And obviously that's the point at which you kind of have to put your rational head and go, well, okay, this is something that's going to align with where I'm going, but is it the right thing for me? Right. And, I could have signed up to any number of mentorships, memberships, everything. At some point, intuition won't do it alone. You have to use a bit of a rational head. Do I have £6,000 spare? Do I need this course? Have I already done something similar? Will it actually add any value to my life? That, there is always going to be that last ditch practical element to it. But yeah, you're right. Being able to scroll through Instagram and Facebook, and the reason it's those two more than any is because they're so visual. LinkedIn's about conversation. LinkedIn's about having thoughts and sharing those thoughts and discussing those thoughts. It doesn't kind of grab the visceral part of your brain quite as much as Instagram or Facebook. And TikTok's kind of gone down the entertainment route. So it may get to that point eventually, but at the moment it's not there. But yeah, it's those photos you see on Instagram and you look at it and you're like, how the hell is that 12-year-old making £6 million?
I don't know, but if they've worked that out, then kudos to them. Yeah, I don't know how a 12-year-old's done that at all.
It's YouTube, apparently. I'm not really sure. But, they make it look so easy. And I'll admit, from the outside, I probably make it look easy. When people come into my house for a Christmas party, I've got a beautiful buffet laid out, my tablecloth matches everything, and my kids are behaving, and my house is clean and all the rest of it. That's not my real life. I've just spent 48 hours running around like a headless chicken trying to cook sausage rolls and bake cupcakes from scratch, and my kids have been fighting each other to the death, and my cats have been scared witless. That's real life. The picture if you're watching visually, the picture I show you here is a very neat section of my office. If I showed you over here, not quite the same. This is where all the stuff goes. And that's real life. So the other thing it's worth doing is look at your own Instagram. Look at the pictures you post of your life and go, is this actually a reflection of my life? No. Because you're going to post the photo where everyone in it's smiling. You ain't posting the photo where everyone's arguing with each other or they've all got their eyes closed. It's human nature to want to be liked. It's human nature to want to fit in. It's human nature to want to show people how well you're doing. When I use photos in my marketing, I use the photo shoot photos.
Yeah.
Because they're good photos. They're high quality photos. They've been taken by a professional. I mean, yeah, all right. I could just take pictures of myself with no makeup on, looking rough as, and no editing whatsoever. And maybe a bit of that's vanity, but I don't know, it's just...
Or is it that we feel that we have to be like that way on social media as well in order to get the business?
Question.
The pre-expectation that people are going to buy because they see it as higher value, so there's a cost. Is there that part of it?
Possibly, because there is an element to it. So, and I'll tell you about it in a bit, but when I started the second business I'm launching at the moment, I was terrified of putting my name to it. I kind of wanted it to be a faceless corporate entity bit like a LinkedIn, if you like, with no discernible person behind it, unlike Facebook with that man behind it. So I was terrified. And the reason I was terrified is because my personal brand and Goldspun have been very much built on my energy and my outgoing personality, and the fact that I will do reels where I'm doing stupid stuff and wear lampshades on my head and bright colours and dance and all the rest of it. I was scared when I launched something new that I didn't have the level of professionalism externally that would allow people to buy into it. And I kind of had to have a word with myself. You know, I was like, oh, do I go and have a professional shoot where I'm wearing nothing but power suits and massive shoulder pads and looking important? But that's not me. The first photo shoot I ever had was in a haunted, abandoned boarding school.
Hey, that sounds cool.
Yeah. Well, I bought a content like membership where you can have 4 shoots in a year. And they were like, you can have them wherever you want. The photographer will travel wherever you want. So I was like, challenge accepted. So I was looking for something edgy and I found this abandoned boarding school, didn't know it was haunted at the time, and booked it and sent the photographer. And then the night before he texted me and went, have you actually looked at this place? And I was like, well, I know where it is. He went, no, I mean, have you Googled it? And I was like, no. Anyway, Googled it. I've never been so terrified in my life.
Wow. Okay.
It had like haunted programs being filmed there. They had haunted sleepovers. I made the photographer go to the toilet with me and stand outside the cubicle because I was genuinely terrified. It was so bad. But
how were the photos?
Well, they were brilliant.
How were they?
They were edgy because the whole thing was like crumbling and decaying, but there was me looking all put together. So I was trying to imply that however crumbly your business is, I'm still going to pull it back together. It's all going to be great. But it was the best day. We had so much fun, but I was genuinely scared. And I did say when he edited the photos, if there's any faces in windows or anyone behind me in any of them, just edit them out. I don't want to know. I don't want to know who was stood behind me. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So that is quite interesting then. So we do this, right? We put out our perceived value through the imagery that we put out. But how does that differ from this success porn that we put out, right? So not that we put out, but that we see on the platform, right?
But and in a way, we are putting out success porn because every time you put out a testimonial and you go, so-and-so did my course and it was epic, in a way, that is success porn. You know, in a way, there is probably one human being out there who looked at that and felt bad that their own course isn't selling.
Yep.
Or how come she's got a podcast and I haven't got a podcast? You know, whatever else that thing is. I think the difference is the intention behind it. So I have never once wanted to sell to anyone just because I wanted their money. I have a course, and the reason I have a course is because I believe that a lot of courses out there are overpriced, confusing, and turn marketing into some kind of dark art where you have to attend Hogwarts for 3 years to even understand what the heck's going on. And I don't believe that's right. So I called it, I can't even remember what I called it now, the simple marketing formula, because it's simple. There are like 7 steps. It is simple. And that, it's not even priced particularly highly. It's not about that. It's about me. I need to pay my bills and keep my lights on. So yes, I am going to have to charge you for this, but not thousands of pounds. I'm not promising you the world. I am telling you that from 16 years of experience, these are the things you need to do to market your business. And that's where I'll stop. Yeah. Am I hobbling myself in terms of potentially getting more sales? Possibly. But can I look at myself in the mirror and can I sleep at night? Yeah. And I think 100%. That's the difference. When I put out nice photos of myself, like I went to a retreat in Ibiza recently and I put out photos of myself. That's not me showing off that I've been in Ibiza. That's me saying I've worked really hard. I've been on this retreat. Here's what I've learned. Here's what I've taken from it.
Yeah.
But equally, I'll show a video of the bad days I've had. Like there was one day where, this is going to sound even worse, by the way, my cleaners came round and I went to make them a cup of tea, but my son had drunk all the milk. I was like, don't worry, I'll go and get you some milk. I've got a meeting in 10 minutes. I'll just get you milk. I'll be back. Don't worry. So I nipped to the shop to get milk. As I drove into the car park, I drove over a bottle of WKD, which broke and burst my tyre. And it just threw out my whole day.
I bet.
And I got back and I went on social media and I was like, I've missed this meeting. This has just happened. I've got to replace my tyre. And ranted. So I'm really careful to try and balance the nice photo and the lovely location, you know, and the retreat in Ibiza with shit stuff happens. Like I went on and told a story that I'd been into a meeting with someone and for some bizarre reason, I decided to walk back and it was like 3 miles. So what I was thinking is a little bit beyond me. But I'd got
I think you needed some time.
I must have done.
Meeting.
I got about 100 yards. This is so weird. My knickers fell down. Now, it's a long story short, but I'd lost a bit of weight and there was nothing to hold them up. And I got to a crossing and it was a really busy road and I just fell right down to my ankles. It was just awful. And then I had to bend down subtly and pick them up, and it probably wasn't subtle. And all these people in the cars were like, what on earth is that girl doing, taking her underwear off in the middle of the street? But I'm happy to share that kind of stuff because that is my life. And yes, if one person looks at my post and goes, oh my God, why can't I have a podcast? Why can't I write a book? Why can't I go to Ibiza? I am sorry you feel that way, and talk to me because I'd love to help you get to where I am. Equally, if one person laughs hysterically because I lost my underwear walking home and thinks, oh, thank God, it's not just me who's doing a shit job some of the time, then do you know what? I'm happy with that too. So you kind of got to have that balance. And I think the people that do operate unethically, they don't have that balance. They just want to show polished perfection all of the time. So in answer, the short answer to your question is it's the intent behind it. Yes, we do put out stuff that has a certain level of gloss, but we're not doing that maliciously. We're almost doing it
authentically.
Yeah, but otherwise, I know it sounds terrible, but there's thousands of people on LinkedIn. There's thousands of people on Instagram. There's thousands of people freaking walking down the street. Somehow you've got to stand out. And I would love to say that your gorgeous personality and your wit and your charm and your looks and everything would do it. But on their own, they won't. You need to be able to shout loud. You need to be able to grab attention. And sometimes we do need to use psychological weapons, but that sounded a bit aggressive, but psychological methods to do that. Tool, that's it. That's the word I was looking for. Yes, tools. We do need to use them because how else are you going to do it? I'm talking a lot. I'm not letting you talk at all, but I'm going to keep going. I found a stat recently when I was doing some work on my new project. 2 years ago, there were 2,000 fractional directors on LinkedIn. In 2024, there were 10,000.
Yeah, I think that's got higher now as well. I think
Yeah, it has. That. I mean, that's the end of 2024. That's, as far as I'm concerned, a lifetime ago at the moment. But can you imagine? You were one of 2,000, so you could be a relatively large fish in a pond. One of 10,000, and what is probably, I would imagine, double, if not more than that now. You're just a tiny minnow in this shouty, loud pond. And I think that is a lot of the problem. So I do get why people are like, my course isn't selling, my thing isn't doing this, my thing isn't doing this. The only way I can do this is to scare people or to guilt people or to use these horrible tactics. So it's so hard because morally I disagree. Fundamentally I disagree. But as a human being, I can look at their point of view and go, I kind of get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Please don't do it that way, but I kind of get it. I get how you got to this place, to be this person. Doesn't mean I like it, but...
I know, I get it. So it's interesting. Let's talk about this fractional stuff because you're setting up a new company that's about fractional support. But I've seen this, what was called a contractor is now a fractional. And as we shared earlier, we both left the corporate world. Actually, I was recording a podcast earlier today, and they left the corporate world as well. And we do see this, a lot of female-led business owners leave the corporate world because there's either nowhere for them to go. There was a stat I've shared as well that I learned this year that at the age of 35, over 70% of female in the tech industry leave because there's nowhere for them to go.
I saw that post, yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, that's when I left, when I was 35, because there was nowhere for me to go. And that's when I set up my business. And it's a continual case because of the lack of infrastructure support for females, usually within the corporate world, or the behaviors that happen within that environment, which you'll know more about as well. So they've moved into this fractional title. However, how do you quantify that fractional person? Because you know as well, when you've worked in corporate, and it's the same as when you're now a business owner and you're hiring people to do tasks for you, they either say that they can do it and they can't do it,
Yeah.
right? And we know that we've worked in the corporate world and they've brought in contractors, and that contractor is charging up to £1,000 a day, but can't actually do the work that they're charging. I've seen this in the IT world, especially massively, like in legal corporate contractors up to £1,000 a day, and they're not able to produce. They're not able to produce what they're getting charged for. And the employees like myself were going, what the hell? I need to leave.
I could be earning £1,000 a day.
Exactly.
And I can do better than that. But I mean, that's got to go back to, you know, the dawn of time when you were in the wild, wild west and your bartender couldn't pull an appropriate sarsaparilla, or however a sarsaparilla was made. Don't even know what a sarsaparilla is. I've got to stop watching the TV so much. Yes, there's always an element of how do you know? And in the employed world, there are a number of checks. Like when you employ someone, you go, can I have 2 references, please? And can I see your CV? And you can do a bit of due diligence, especially with the internet these days. Thank God that wasn't around when I was younger. But, the number of people that they search their Twitter, they search their social media and find out a bit more about them. When it comes to the freelance world, it is quite different. So the ideal is you go on personal recommendation. I'd come to you and go, Sooz, I need a person to come in as an IT director. Any recommendations? And you'd name people you've either worked with or you've had experience with. And that's the best way to do it. But realistically, not everyone knows everyone. That would be lovely, but it's not always the case. You might not know the perfect IT director who happens to have worked in biotech. You might not know the right marketing director. You might be in IT. Well, you are in IT yourself, but you're in IT yourself. You might not know marketing. You might not know finance. You might be within your industry. And then you're left with, okay, so I'm faced with these 10,000, however many people it is online. How do I pick? And the trouble is with online, you only know what someone is telling you. So you go on LinkedIn, and I could call myself a purple spotted cow wrangler. And not one person could disprove it if I've AI generated a photo of me wrangling a cow whilst covered in purple spots. And that's the problem. You can literally say anything. And when I was doing research into Fractional, it is an issue. Because my genuine belief is that this fractional workforce is the way forward for the economy. And there's lots of reasons for that. If you look at the geopolitical landscape and you look at the economic landscape, things are a little bit uncertain. We're kind of living on a bit of quicksand at the moment. And so heavy investment in full-time roles isn't comfortable. People want to grow slowly and they want to grow a little bit more intentionally. So instead of bringing in a 5-day-a-week marketing director, if you can bring in someone 1 day a week who guides the strategy, and then you've just got the team in-house who could do the doing, it's a really good way of up-leveling the business at a manageable growth rate. It's not the old days where there was money sloshing about everywhere, unfortunately. Wish it was. Our lives would be a lot easier.
It would be.
It would be. So you'd get SMEs who'd bring in someone who claimed to be a fractional, and you're quite right, they don't deliver on what they deliver. So then you've got all the businesses on this side going, maybe actually that industry isn't as trustworthy. So you've got this amazing resource full of fantastic leaders, a lot of whom are women, and they're still young. You're talking people who are 30s and 40s, and even those who are a bit older with even more experience, who could make such a difference to your business. And then you've got the other side going, yeah, but we don't really know who the right person to pick is. And last time we picked someone, we wasted quite a lot of money. Yeah. So do we do it again? So then you end up with the tension. And it's like, I can see this massive opportunity for the economy. I can see the way it's going. But unless that problem is solved, it's going to stifle its own growth. And the SME growth will end up grinding to a halt because it hasn't got the resource it needs, or because it overstretches itself by taking on full-time employment, thinking it's safer, and then finding it can't support that level of cost. So I'm very much in a overexcited phase about trying to solve that problem before it becomes a real problem. But you are right. It's not easy to do. And I was talking to my local council about some funding, and they went, so what are you talking about? I said, well, I'm talking about some kind of credibility check for the fractional community. So think of it like Check a Trade or Trust a Trade, or whenever you get a plumber, you want to know you've got a trustworthy plumber. So you read their Trustpilot reviews, you talk to other people, whatever it is. I'm talking about something like that for fractional. And their genuine response was, how is that any different from the blue tick on LinkedIn? I'm like, well, you just need to prove you're a human being for
With a
that.
passport.
I mean, realistically, I'm verified on Meta. It doesn't make me Jennifer Aniston. Do you know what I mean? Those things prove you're human. They don't prove you can do what you say you can do. And it's, as one person, I'm basically trying to start a revolution, which is quite challenging on your own. But I am really committed to this, and it's something I've put a lot of my personal resources into. because I genuinely believe it can make a difference if we can weed out those less than, I'm trying to be really diplomatic, less than truthful people, which leaves the credible people behind to really shine and shout about what they do, but without having to fight. Just because you post a lot on LinkedIn doesn't necessarily make you the best person for the job. Just because you are happy being on camera doesn't necessarily make you any better than the person who's very shy on camera, but they've got 25 years of demonstrable experience. I'm trying to stop noise and volume being more important than credibility, which is a big job now. I've just said it like that.
It is a big job, but I think there's so much importance in doing that. And I don't know whether this stems from what's built into you when you are first moving into starting a job is that you just put anything on your CV in order to get employed. And then there's so many people that go through the job role in the interview and they say what they want to be able to get the interview. And then when they do the job, they aren't able to do it. I've worked in multiple companies where we've had a team member that just obviously did really well in their interview, but they can't do the job at all. So then you see people then starting their own business and then they're like saying that they can do these things and they can't do these things. And then maybe they move into the fractional space and then they do the exact same thing as well. So again, it's going, where is the credibility in across all of this? Where are we being authentic? Where are we being ourselves? Where are we actually aligning with our own values and going, I want to be trustworthy, authentic,
and that's the
real.
thing. I think there was an interesting stat. I've just come out of a university course. It was a 4-day short course on women in transformational leadership. And I'm going to totally misquote this stat, but the sentiment will be correct. It was something like when applying for jobs, men only needed to know they had 60% of the competencies on the list, whereas women needed 100. We will literally look at a list of skills requested and go, I'm sorry, I can't do that one thing there, so I probably shouldn't apply. Whereas men will be more, excuse the pun, ballsy about it and go, yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. I can manage that. And I think that's kind of what's happening in the fractional world. You've got those people who are a bit more ballsy and they're like, well, I mean, I've never actually operated as a director, but, I've done all this stuff, so I'm sure it'll be fine. I've never actually sat round a board table, but how hard can it be? Whereas you've got the rest of us who are like, but we can do that. But I have been in those boardrooms, but I have had those conversations, but we're too scared to then shout about that stuff, maybe because it's unsexy. But
Is that a confidence thing as well, do you think?
In women, it's an inbuilt thing in us, but I do think there is a confidence thing. Imagine you've worked you have, you did, you've worked in corporate. There's always been a team. There's always been people around you. There's always been someone else to answer to. There's always been someone to make decisions for you at the end of the day. Unless you're at the very top of the tree, there are other people. And then you go out on your own and there is no one else. You're suddenly the most adulty adult in the room and you've got, the buck stops with you. The decisions stop with you. Everything stops with you. So I think to a degree it is a confidence thing, because when the imposter gets you, there's nobody to turn around and talk to. You don't have that colleague to bounce ideas off of unless you've already built that support network. You haven't got someone going, don't be a twat, you can do this. And I think that's part of the problem with being an entrepreneur. Unless you can find those communities where you can put a message out that goes, I am having an awful day, it's launch day and no one's joined and I don't think I can do this and I can't reach out in cold DMs. It is really hard because you are completely on your own.
I think having then what you're saying is that credibility piece for the fractional work is where that can make you feel more confident in what you're doing and will also help the people that you're being employed to, is that they know what they're doing because they've had that credibility.
It's almost, I'm going to say it's something to hide behind. It's not, because it should never be that, because you've still got other stuff you should be talking about. But it's an extra level of confidence. When I got my social media qualification, I think I got their second highest ever pass rate at 97%, because I knew what I was doing. I'd already done social media and I'd done marketing for years. Did I need the qualification? No. Did that qualification give me the confidence to charge what I'm worth and to talk about my services in a much stronger way? Yeah. So this credibility badge I'm creating, it's about, look, I believe in you. You've shown me what you can do. So put that on your website. I'm going to put you on my website. So if any SMEs come looking for whatever you do, You are there as part of that. I want to show you off. And because I'm proud to show you off, you should be proud to show yourself off. And I'm hoping I can kind of grow the whole idea. It started with credibility. There'll be a community element to it. There'll be the searchable database element to it. But I'm hoping I can grow it as well into training for people that have never operated as a solopreneur and don't know what they don't know, whether that's positive mindset,
mean,
confidence.
it's great because you can bring in all the other experts to be able to help support you in part of that as well, Danielle. And I think as a business like myself, who works with both private and public sector, we know when you're going for public sector work, there's a bidding process for it, and you do need to be an accredited company. In Scotland, we've got some really quite strict guidelines around that. We have to be a fair work employer. We have to be a living wage employer. I'm also a good business accredited company as well, which means we align to a set of values, which are separate also from our own core company values. And having these built in-house allows any people that we're going for bids for, or any company that we're going to work with, to know that these are the alignments of what we will always follow.
And essentially, you're saying, I'm a good person. We
Yeah,
are good people and we do
we're
good
good
things,
people.
because none of those are, I don't know, we've got 1,500 pieces of paperwork that show we adhere to every quality standard. Every single one of those we are decent people who employ
Yeah.
decent people and we pay them a decent wage. And it's really not funny, but it's really telling that level of honesty and credibility comes not from bits of paperwork and procedures and policies. It comes from someone standing there going, I am going to stand beside the fact that I am ethical. I am going to stand beside the fact that I look after my team. And I
I
think
have
that's the way the world is
integrity.
going. Yeah.
And I think in the world of AI and automation, especially AI, where we're seeing the social platforms taking over the influencer world, and we're going to see companies having AI agents that are really their influencers. We're seeing this in the bot world. That difference between what's real and what's not real is, there's some translucency there as part of it. And so where do you sit as a human within that space? And I am saying, be more human in the world of AI,
Yeah.
and go really start to look at what your skills as a human is. Am I curious? Am I collaborative? Am I communicative? Am I problem solving? Am I able to think holistically? Can I work as a team member? Where are those essential human skills in this world of AI and automation? And you've basically talked so much about being your authentic self, and as a business owner, having your own values and credibility. That's where your ethical aspect lies. And I love that you're bringing this into this fractional space, because it's so needed. This this kind of checklist, this
Yeah, it's almost
credibility.
like a runaway train at this point, and I just kind of need to hold it back a bit on my own.
Yeah.
It feels I feel like, what's that man with the Red Sea? Moses. That's a very grand comparison, isn't it?
Yeah, those 10 commandments, Danielle.
That's me.
Is that it?
Me and my tablet of stone. It's I don't know, sometimes in life an idea comes to you, stuff comes together, and you just know you have to do something with it. I know that sounds really funny and really over the top, but it genuinely feels like my
to that
calling.
ethical stuff, like that ethical, like, hang on a minute, there's something not right here. I'm going to align with my values and be like, let's try and solve this problem. So it's really trying to bring that value back that aligns with your core values, and go, right, this is where I can make an impact. This is where I can make a change. And this is what can help other businesses grow and develop. From what I've seen and experienced over these last 16 years, you're fed up of businesses being burnt.
I am
You're
fed up. I'm
probably,
fed up of, and they're
yeah,
people. They're not even businesses. They are, women
humans.
who've got 2 kids and they desperately want to make some money that gives them flexibility. These are people, and I've seen them. I bought so and so course, but I'm not selling any of my passive income product. Well, no, because that's not a product that's going to sell, and this is why. Why don't we try something different? I hate it. I hate the stretched credit card spend or the loans people have had to get. It makes me feel physically sick. And ultimately, I want to keep giving back. My ultimate dream at the top of my North Star vision board is to have a mentoring program for young women who don't understand that self-employment is an option, because we're not really taught it at school, are we?
No, we're not.
You go
We're
to
not at all.
college, go to uni, get a job, have your 2.4 children, get on with your life type situation. And I want to intervene before that and show how much potential there is in all of us. And if you don't want to follow that route, again, absolutely fine. I'll help you get into university and become a lawyer. Not a problem. But equally, until we are aware of how much potential there is in the world and how much potential there is in us, we can't make that choice. And a lot of people will spend their lives unhappy because they followed what they think they should follow instead of their hearts because they're not listening.
A lot of that from what we've talked about over this whole conversation is really going back to who we are as people and really exploring that, like what brings us joy, what brings us happiness, what boils the piss, as your mentor had said to you as well. What's the thing I say grinding my gears? Like what's that thing that really annoys me?
Yeah.
And there's a lot as I've got older, the things that annoy me. But in the online world, as someone that's worked within digital for such a long time, and I saw this change happen. So when I was at Apple, and we started to see people buying devices for children, we started to see people buying tablets and using them as distraction techniques. And now I'm seeing those people that were being bought tablets as a child, now in the workforce. And I'm seeing the behaviors that have happened because of them being given technology as a distraction technique rather than a communication tool, being given it as rather than a learning device, but as a means to avoid human interaction. We're seeing the impact of that in the workforce. We're seeing the impact of that within teams, team development. We're going to see even more within the next 5 years even. And I talked
Yeah.
about how it used to be a wider gap and now the gap's a lot smaller. So you used to be able to see things like, I'm not explaining it well enough, but there was like a 5-year gap. You would be like, all right, there's a difference there. It's totally changed now. So we're seeing this behaviors differently in the workforce, and we've got a wide demographic change as well. So we've got people that are used to working a specific way, communicating face to face, asking a question and expecting a response back, where we'll have team members that are only used to communicating via some sort of device.
It's like that funny meme where you get that horrified person who's seeing a phone call and they're like, why are you phoning me when you could just text me?
Exactly.
But that's a good trick for anyone who runs their own business. The first thing you do is establish communication parameters. So I've worked with clients who love to send me 20-minute voice notes. I mean, thank God I'm a patient human being. But, you know, equally, I've got people who will only phone me. They won't do that. Or people that will only email, or people that like to have a face-to-face. Well, face-to-face is a bit of like a Teams meeting, even though it's a 2-minute conversation. As a business owner working with a range of different people, for me, that is my first thing. How is this person going to want to be communicated to or communicated with? Because once you know that, everything's easier. Because I think for the first few years, I struggled with that bit. I struggled to recognize there were differences, because the way I'd done it in corporate was we all communicated this way. We all did things this way. You know, you all had a desk phone and you did answer your desk phone and you answered it in this particular way. The real world isn't like that. And you can offend people or upset people or make people very happy just by knowing those tiny little things about them. And that's back to that human element you said. It's not one way of doing something. It's tailoring what you do in a special way to each person you talk to, and that's how you can be different to the AI. That's how you can be different. You can genuinely listen and go, okay, you're not going to read a 16-page email where I've given you every bit of detail. That's fine. Let's not do it that way. And I think that's the way you stand out against all the automation and all the bots and all the rest of it, by genuinely connecting with the other human and knowing what they need.
Being human in the world of digital and AI. Okay, so you've got so much going on with your business, Danielle, in the most positive way, which is you've got a podcast, you've got courses, you've got books. Tell us a little bit more about what you do to help people. You've talked about your fractional stuff. Explain how people can work with you, connect with you in some sort of way.
I mean, come and stalk
Too
me
many.
online. I should, in theory, be everywhere. Absolutely, any of the socials. More than happy to have you come and connect with me, especially on LinkedIn and that kind of thing. Not a problem. I've got books as well on Amazon if you really want to read them. But if you go on my Gold Spun Support website, you'll find all my books on there, all of the podcast links and everything. That's probably the hub for where you'd find me. But if you are interested in kind of the ethical marketing side, I've got my Simple Marketing Masterclass, which I think you're going to put a link to, aren't you,
That's
in
right,
the thing? And it's just a short snapshot of the 7 things you kind of need to do to market. It's not a dark art. I explain it all without, well, I'm hoping I did no acronyms. I don't think I did acronyms or horrible jargony language. I'm pretty confident I was simple as humanly possible. And yes, there is an upsell at the end of it to the course, but I'm not going to force you to buy it. I'm not going to tell you that if you don't buy it, your life will be over and your wife's going to leave you or anything like that. It's purely just an upsell. If you took from this workshop what you took and that's all you took, you'd be good. Don't worry. So yeah, I think for people listening to this, if that's what you're interested in, I'd absolutely point you towards the masterclass, because it's pre-recorded, so it's there all the time. You don't have to worry about turning up at 2 a.m. or whatever time I decide to put it on. But if you want to just connect with me, any of the platforms under Gold Spun Support or Fractional link. Don't go on TikTok because I'm experimenting with personal branding, and frankly, I'm like a crazy person over there at the moment.
Okay. Maybe you do want to go and see that then.
Well, I'm under my name on there. I'm under Danielle Thompson. And at the moment, the only people sharing my videos are my 16-year-old daughter's friends who keep telling me I'm giving great advice. I'm like, you are not my demographic, but okay.
I mean, I'd go with it.
Reach is reach.
Definitely. I mean, TikTok is a world of its own, so
it is.
The demographic's different on there. As you said, it's a entertainment platform.
It makes me feel old, TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm playing. TikTok is my playful place. So I'm experimenting what a personal brand could feel like and how I bring together Fractional link, Gold Spun Support, the books, the podcast, how I bring it all together under an umbrella with that golden thread. So TikTok's going to keep, in fact, do join me. It's Danielle Thompson on TikTok. It's going to be crazy for a while. Don't know what I'm doing. It'll be great.
Yeah, go and follow and play along with Danielle. Right, let's finish up this chat by you giving us 3 tips that can help people feel ethical, get away from the success porn and making you doubt yourself. What can you share with our audience?
So I think we've covered a lot of what would be my top tips. So the first one would be understanding what your values are. And that's the whole boil your piss, grind your gears exercise. Find that thing that you get so worked up about, because that is where your passion and values lie. That is the place in which you will find all of your discomfort, all of your stress, and all of your anger. Find that place. And it might take you a while. Maybe have a couple of drinks. That sometimes helps bring out the anger in me, I find. The second one would be that North Star exercise where you sit down and you find that yellow brick road you want to go down, because knowing the end point changes the way you make every single decision along the way. And then the third one for me would be, do not listen to any single person who tells you you're too much or too loud or too over the top, because nothing about you is too much. Every single element of you is fantastic and should be shared with the world, because we are wonderful, complex human beings with multi-dimensions to us, and the world deserves to see every single part of that. So never not be you. That sentence came out wrong. Always be you. That was what I meant to say.
Always be you. Never not be you. It's a double negative, which means a positive. So always be yourself.
Always be you. Be authentic. Be you. Beat the AI.
Exactly. Be human in the world of AI. I absolutely love it. Danielle, thank you so much for joining me today on the Digital Dominator podcast. You are a fantastic human and bringing so much light and ethical positivity into this world. Gold by name, by nature. Go and explore Danielle on all of the platforms. They'll be in the description and the show notes. And thank you so much for sharing these wonderful, wonderful tips with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Digital Dominators. I hope today's episode gave you something practical, or at least a bit of a boost to keep things going in this mad digital world. If you're enjoying the podcast, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming up. There's loads more good stuff on the way and some brilliant guests lined up too. And if you fancy going a bit deeper, come and join the Digital Dominators community. It's totally free and it's where I share bonus trainings, podcast extras and tools to help you build confidence with your digital skills. You'll also get access to my social media prompt calendar, so you can finally stop staring at that blank screen wondering what to post. Just head to technologycoachingonline.com/digitaldominators to get started. Alright, that's it from me just now. Stay curious, keep showing up, and I'll catch you in the next one.